what doing business looks like for me now is following the fun.
Welcome to Here's What I Learned. I'm your host, Jackie Hayes, Systems Strategist and Operations Support Specialist. My guest and I share the lessons we've learned about making value-based decisions, leading our teams in new ways, and rejecting traditional business advice when that advice doesn't align with the life we want to live. If you're a solopreneur or small business owner tired of the same old scale for the sake of scaling way of doing business, then you'll want to stick around and take a listen. So put in those earbuds, get your morning mile started, and enjoy the episode. On today's episode, I'm talking with Katie Carson. After a career spanning everything from the CIA to McKinsey & Company, Katie left corporate behind in October of 2022 and returned to her first love, marketing. She likes to say that she de-ickifies marketing for intuitive entrepreneurs looking to break out of the corporate mindset and have fun marketing their business. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Katie. Hi, Katie. Welcome to Here's What I Learned.
I am so excited to be here.
I think this is the first time you and I have actually spoken maybe face to face. Like we've emailed and done other things, but I think this is the first time So it's exciting to do that.
I know we've collaborated on other projects virtually, but we've just never actually talked. So this is so fun.
This is why we podcast, people. So
exactly.
Can you tell me what it means to do business your way?
It's so funny to talk about this now because if you'd asked me this question probably 6 months ago, my answer would have been very different. But what doing business looks like for me now is following the fun. That's what it looks like for me now. I left corporate in October 2022. I left a very toxic company with no safety net. And we have just kind of been building the plane as we fly, much like Boeing. But
sorry.
Feel free to edit that out. I want to get sued.
No, we're keeping that one in.
Okay, great. But yeah, it was a lot of I had friends who were entrepreneurs and had made the leap and had found their niche so fast. And I was just scrambling to get whatever work I could to, pay my rent, right? And feed my dog. Forget myself. We're feeding Archie before we feed anybody else. But back then I was referred to a lot of programs and things, which was great. And I learned so much, but it was a lot of you have to pick a niche and you have to stay in that niche. And that never felt right to me. I have ADHD and a touch of the autism, and being put into a box, there is nothing that will ignite my rebellious streak more than you trying to put me in a box or telling me I can't do something, hands down. But I tried, right? I was okay, we're going to try this. I'm really enjoying this that I'm doing for one of my Build It As We Go clients. Let's try to market this as a service. No, okay, well, let's pivot to over here. This is where my niche is, and this is what I'm going to do. And then it didn't work out the way everybody said it would. And I have come to realize that for me, doing business means following what feels good and what feels fun. And having a variety of projects and clients to work with, instead of trying to niche down into one singular offering or one singular thing. It doesn't work for everybody,
Yeah. I know the advice is to have that signature offer and only do that and only offer that and only to a single group of people. And I have found that has never actually worked for me either in my business. I quote unquote market specific things, but people come to me as referrals, and they've talked to somebody about a problem they're having. That person says, talk to Jackie. Nobody looks at my website. Nobody checks out my social media. They just know that this person that they trust said, Jackie can fix that for you. And it's maybe not in my suite of offers, but if I really liked the vibe of that person and I was want to work with them, then I will find a way to work with them.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that that's so important. And like for me, it was kind of a similar thing where I was trying to niche down only my services because I was like, I would rather go off of vibes than a particular type of person that I work with. And I think too, it really closed me off from the idea of even taking on some corporate contracts, right? And at the end of last year, I landed a really big corporate contract, which for me meant I could quit working shifts at TJ Maxx at 6 a.m. I didn't have to worry about, like landing as many clients or selling as much or like hustling because I hate hustle culture. I'm a human design projector and I'm learning that that means I actually have to rest, contrary to my trauma responses. Um, and it allowed me to do that. And I think that that got discounted a lot too when I was starting out. Like the idea of a corporate contract was never even floated. And I'm like, why why have I not? Like I've had startups as clients and things, but that's a little different. But like this has been a steady corporate contract. We're in month 4, 5 now. And it has given me the freedom and the stability to actually pursue projects that I really enjoy. I'm starting to work with my podcast manager because I have a podcast for single millennials and Gen X, nothing to do with business whatsoever, because I know a lot about being single. I've been single my whole life. So that's what I want to talk about. But I'm able to work with her. I've been doing their PR and media in exchange for editing services, but also I'm coming on to help like manage accounts and things like that. I'm able to do social media for my corporate client. I'm able to do email marketing for another. Just sent out a proposal to build strategy for an HR consultant. Like I'm getting to do all of the things that I love without burning out.
Mm, that's awesome. I'm kind of surprised you're a projector because that sounds very Manny Jen.
I think it's like the combo of double Aries. I'm an Aries sun, Aries moon, Pisces rising. I am an Enneagram 3 and a projector. Um, and I'm also ADHD. So like it's just kind of a combo of all the things.
Yeah.
All of the things, kind of like that golden retriever energy. But I have learned what my energy cycles look like in the last year and a half and like where I need to take breaks. So I know that like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm done for like at least 2 to 3 hours. And then I get another little burst of energy and I can work again. And that freedom and that knowledge and that self awareness has been so helpful, even in navigating who I work with and how I work with them.
Mm-hmm. I love you mentioning paying attention to your own energy cycles. And those of us who are running a business of our own, especially for solopreneurs, we have the freedom to be able to do that. And yet so many of us don't. We still stick to some kind of 8 to 5, maybe a half-hour break if anybody takes a break. Thankfully, I give myself an hour break every day, at least. But there's a reason why when you're in the corporate world, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you can no longer function.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't change when you go to work for yourself.
No. And I think that's a huge misconception, right? Like, they say if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, but it's still work. You still have to put a lot of time and energy into it. And while it's fun and it's rewarding and it's definitely much more fulfilling for me than working in a corporate job that maybe I didn't believe in what we were doing or how we were doing it. But it really is important to learn how your energy flows. And it's going to take some time and some hit or miss. And it's like the healing journey, right? It's not linear. It's very up and down and all around. And there's going to be times where you fall back into those old habits. I'm coming out of a time like that. This is the most voice I've had in a month because I just burnt myself out between working and a move and all of that. But being able to learn those signs and get in touch with my body and my energy level has been a huge game changer for me because I now know for me what is too much and like where is that sweet spot and like what are my I I don't know if this is TMI for your audience. I've I've started learning about cycle tracking, but I struggle with it because I had a hysterectomy a couple years ago. So I have hormones and ovaries still, but no uterus. So like I don't ever know what's going on. So like really paying attention to my energy has been an extremely crucial thing to know when those times are that I may be having a dip without the physical symptoms, right? Like it's, I started keeping like a little energy wheel. I bought like this digital planner that had this energy wheel, and you just kind of fill in how your energy was in the morning, afternoon, evening. And that has been a huge help in figuring out where are my slumps? What does that look like? Where did I burn myself out? What was too much? What was maybe too little where I was bored and making weird decisions because I had too much time on my hands because ADHD. Uh, not that that's my whole personality, but
It plays a factor into how you work. So
yeah, it's a huge factor. And I think too, being an entrepreneur has allowed me to really lean into that and embrace that as a superpower instead of something that I had to hide or push through or overachieve to mask, right? Like I think in corporate there's a lot of times, especially as a woman, and especially if you're in a male dominated field. I've worked in the federal government, I've worked in bro performance marketing, I worked at McKinsey and Company. So like I've done a lot of male dominated things, and trying to push through and do things on that cycle burnt me out every couple of years. And it's one of the reasons why I have such a varied career. You Even if you are in corporate, it's important to know that and know how you work best. I think that we're taught to prioritize other people first, and we don't prioritize ourselves and our needs. Um, and I could go on about that for hours. Don't know how I got here, but I could go on about that for hours. And I just actually on my podcast, I had an episode with Dr. Sherry. Um, And she's a PhD and she focuses on radical self care. That's what she did her dissertation on. And we talked a lot about that and the different ways that you can burn yourself out and the way that manifests. And like, especially if you're trying to push through and do all the things for everybody, but not for yourself.
yeah, yeah. I want to go back and tie this to something you said earlier, which was you have this corporate client now, this
Mhm,
retainer client, and that has given you freedom. And a
mhm.
lot of times in the online space, you hear people say to stay away from long-term ongoing retainers because it can limit your income, etc. But for a lot of people, especially if their business is still fairly new, they're burning out because they're constantly looking for the revenue sources.
Yes.
So having that retainer does give you freedom because you can breathe a little bit because you're not worried about the money as much.
Well, and even this is actually an hourly, it's not even a retainer contract, it's hourly, which is great too, because, I work as much as I have the work. There is a cap, but it it's what you said, like I'm not having to hustle, hustle, hustle and feel like I need to be tied to my laptop, pushing myself in a way that like my whole marketing background and strategy and what I offer to my clients, like one-on-one clients is a marketing strategy that feels good and authentic to you, that is also driven by data of what works, right? Like marrying the two. And I wasn't doing that for myself. I was, it was do as I say, not as I do, like we tell kids. But because of that, I was at my laptop and I'm a single, I live alone. And especially in the winter when I can't go to the dog park with Archie, like we were just inside at my laptop all day, trying to hustle, trying to figure out how are we going to make rent? How are we going to do these things? And I think that I'm like a year and a half in now, and there's just so much that I would tell myself a year and a half ago. Like, it's okay if you can't make it just through online business. It's okay to get a part-time job to fill in here and there where you need whatever it is that gives you that security and stability and the space mentally and emotionally to work on your business without worrying how you're going to feed yourself, your family, your dog is what you can do. And I like when I went and got the job at TJ Maxx, it was a little too late. I won't lie to you, financially speaking. But it gave me that space to where I could actually think about what I was doing instead of just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what stuck, because it can feel very desperate. It can feel very like a scarcity mindset sets in, right? Like, and especially, I don't know, like if you've grown up in poverty, if you've grown up around that, it can bring all of that back up. And it's okay to go after corporate contracts. It's okay to go after whatever it is that helps you with your mental health. And like what that looks like for you is going to be completely different than what that looks like for somebody else. And that is also okay.
Yeah. So often we hear people say that, you're failing or your business is failing if you have to go out and get a second job or part-time job. I've done it and it has helped with the revenue. It's an income that I can count on, but also as somebody who sits in my apartment as a single person,
Yes.
with just a dog all day long, it's like, I actually kind of miss coworkers, but they're not like
Preach.
corporate, sit in a cubicle coworkers.
Preach.
I work at a gym, my climbing gym. So it's all the people in the community that I would be hanging out with at the climbing gym anyways. And so we're just standing around talking and helping other climbers. So
Listen,
it's so helpful for my mental well-being.
that's what TJ Maxx was for me. And like with the corporate contract has filled that in a little bit because I'm now like on teams with people constantly and like I'm communicating with people more, but it was exactly that. It was not only for my financial well-being, but for my mental well-being. I was not sitting behind a laptop. I might have had to be up at the butt crack of dawn, which I am not a morning person, but I was working in the back. I got first dibs on everything that came into TJ Maxx, which is you shop at TJ Maxx, you know that that's a big deal. But also it was the same, it was pretty much the same core group of like 4 or 5 people. I didn't have to deal with customers. I didn't have to be cute at 6 a.m. I just showed up. We had a good time. We turned on some music and it did absolute wonders for my mental health in more ways than one. And I would say as a solopreneur, that is probably the biggest drawback to being one is the lack of human interaction, that lack of support and feeling like you're on this island all by yourself when you're not. And it's why like making connections like you and I, or like I have several people that I have met. My podcast manager, Sarah, is one of them. She's now one of my closest friends. And, like I've met so many people through the online space that I can talk to, that I can go to, that I can build that network with. But as a single person living alone, the virtual interaction doesn't always cut it. Like, that's why the dog park has been so important to my mental health. Every day when the weather is good, we are there without fail with our people. And like, I didn't know the human names for 6 months. I knew the dog names. We all knew the dog names. Nobody knew each other's names. We'd exchanged numbers before we exchanged first names. And some of those people are now my closest friends. And like, it has been such a huge game changer to remember what that like the human interaction was something that I actually did miss as much as, people can be terrible, but you do miss it. Like if you have something in common with them, all the better, all the better.
Earlier, you said you work with your clients and helping them find a way to market that feels good to them, but also, works based on the data.
Yeah.
So there's the people who say, do it this way and exactly this way, and this is the only way. And then there's people who are like, do it whatever way that works. But those extremes, if you got to come together, because I could be doing it how it feels good every day, all day. But if it's not working, there's still no point to that. So talk a little bit about that process of working with your clients to find the middle ground on that.
Yeah. So this is actually one of those things where like I was like, you got to niche down and you see all these people who are like, I do email and I do Instagram and I do LinkedIn. Well, with my corporate marketing background, I have a breadth of knowledge across all the channels. I got organic social, paid social, email, LinkedIn, like you name it. I've touched it at some point. And I think that that's where my strength is being able to, and also as a projector, right? Being able to ask the questions and draw people out and find out, what is it about marketing that I mean, that gives them the proverbial ick, right? Because there's a lot of people who are just like, I feel gross marketing my business. And it doesn't have to be that. So I ask them questions about, their human design type, their Enneagram, their horoscope signs. Like we get to know all of that of them as a person. But then we also look at, okay, now who are you serving? And where are they looking for your services? And so you find that middle ground of like what feels good for you, both in like a like bare minimum, like this is my bar. This is how I'm going to be consistent is I know that I can show up on email once a month, or I know I can show up on LinkedIn where my clients are 3 times a week, right? But just having a bar that is like, this is my bare minimum. Kind of like going to the gym, right? Like if you're trying to make big health changes and you want to see results, you have to have some level of consistency. And that is where the key is. So it's about finding out where that sweet spot is for you. And also, what platform do we need to be on? And how does that fit in? And so it's a lot of exploration. And even with what we come up with, I always like give post support because marketing is not a one size fits all ever. So we'll come up with a strategy, but marketing is all about testing and optimizing. So just because one thing didn't work the exact way that we hoped, there is always something to be learned from the data that can be then applied, right? It's kind of like a science experiment. We hypothesize X, but Y happened. So going forward, we're going to do Z. And that's a lot like marketing. It's like the scientific method mixed with a lot of art and woo and psychology. And so it's just really, really, it's kind of hard to put into words because it varies so much from client to client.
So what you're saying though, it doesn't just apply to marketing really.
Mm-mm.
It's like owning a business. That's
Yes.
whole like testing and iterating and optimizing. Your entire business is going to be that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you have known this from like where you started with your business to where you are now. And you know
Yeah.
that like where you are now is not probably where you're going to be in 6 months to a year.
Right.
It's a constant process that if you stick your feet in the mud and you say it's going to be this, you miss out on a lot of opportunities and your business probably won't grow with you in any way, shape, or form.
Right. And I think too, like it's important to know like that also you get to define your success. So what does that look like for you? And that is what one of the things we go through with my clients is what does success mean to you? Like what does that look like? Are you looking to just be consistent and show up for the first time, right? Is it you book one sales call? Is it that you have like 5 people join your email list? Or is it that you collaborate and guest on some podcasts, right? Like 'cause that's a huge part too that a lot of people leave out is collaboration over competition. It always wins. Always. Like I feel like as women we're pitted against each other a lot. And especially like on social media, it's such like a comparison trap. But it's how can we work together to lift each other up? And I have seen so many clients have such good results just from focusing on collaboration, on how they can lift each other up, on how they can, they can guest on this podcast and exchange, and like that person can help them with this. All of those things, I feel like come back around. I feel very woo right now. Like I feel very karma. And I'm really surprising myself, if I'm honest.
I love it. I love how you're talking when you were talking about earlier about like scientific method and the woo. And I'm like, this is me every day, all day. I am a Capricorn who reads my tarot cards because I'm a Pisces rising. So
I'm a Pisces rising. But yeah, like exactly. Like I don't for my clients especially, and when it comes to marketing, I don't like to just make decisions and see what happens. If we can look at your numbers, at your performance, right, with whatever you've been doing on whatever platforms, those numbers tell a story. And a lot of people don't know how to decipher or translate that story. But because I've had to do it for corporate marketing for so long, it's really easy for me to look at it and be like, okay, this is what is doing best for you. This is kind of where you're seeing the return on your investment time wise. And that informs how we, like, I always say, pick one platform to start, figure out where most of your people are, focus 90% of your effort on that one platform. Then you'll have a bank of content you can repurpose and work smarter, not harder, when it comes to other platforms. But if you become an expert in one and start to feel that traction, it's I'm going to use the gym metaphor again. When you start to see that little bit of success with showing up consistently on one platform, you're rewiring your brain to reinforce those good habits, to reinforce, okay, I can do this. This isn't as daunting as I thought it was. And I teach people how to learn the story of their data. So whether or not they're working with me, they can look at it and be like, okay, I know what I need to do now.
Yeah. Those little wins are so important, especially in times where things are a little slow, or you're just picking up, or whatever it is. Find ways to fit those little wins in, because they feel little right now, but you put them all together and they become big wins.
Yeah. And there's actual neuroscience behind it, right? Like I took one of my clients is an L&D startup, and I get to take some of their classes, which is great, right? Like, and it's good for the marketing, but also like I love it for me. And there was one on the neuroscience of marketing, and it's a PhD neuroscientist, and he talked about that. Those little wins. It's like if you are literally rewiring your neurons to fire in a different way, to prove to yourself that you can change that habit. You can do X, Y, or Z. But if you set too big of a goal for yourself right off the bat, you're going to feel like you can't, and you're going to perpetuate that instead. So focusing on those little wins is a really big thing.
You kind of talked about this a little. Well, you did talk about this, which is, if I could talk to myself when I first started my business, what kind of things would I say? Which is usually how I wrap these up. So you kind of messed up my entire order of my interview. You were reading my mind there.
Just edit it that way. Just reorder it. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. No, because unfortunately I haven't started working with Sarah yet, because she could do that magic. I can't. Someday we'll get there.
Okay.
So let me do a completely different question. I popped this one for somebody else, and they were like, wow, I don't know. So a year, 2 years from now, Katie, what would she be telling you right now about how to do business your way?
Ooh, that is a hard one. It's kind of like that, where do you see yourself in 5 years interview question? And I'm always like, listen, I never thought I'd be here. So I don't know how you expect me to predict 5 years from now. We've lived through so many, like 9/11 recession. Like I've lived through so many things that have changed the impact, like the trajectory. I don't even know. I don't want to tempt fate, but no, that is so good. I would say to prioritizing my self-care, prioritizing what I need instead of being it kind of ties into my mindset, right? Like of the scarcity mindset that was triggered from like childhood during those hard business times, to really kind of rewire my mindset and be like, I do have enough. Like I have enough. I am enough right as I am right now. It's probably one of the biggest things we talk about in my therapy sessions. But like rewiring that mindset, like 2 years from now, like I would love to see myself really stepping into that and operating from that in a whole new way. But especially when it comes to prioritizing myself, because in my head, it's like there's never enough money or time or whatever to do the things I need to do, like go to the dentist or whatever, things that seem really basic, but can make a really big difference if you're not making the time and the effort and being intentional about doing it and sinking all of your time and your money into your business instead of keep like putting some of that back into you.
Katie, where can the audience find you?
Oh, I'm all over the place. Because as you can tell, I'm an extrovert. So I like to be everywhere and talk to everyone. You can find me on LinkedIn and on Instagram. I'm at Lady Katie Carson, because I do own a square foot plot of land in Scotland. So I am technically a lady. As much as my demeanor doesn't really say that. And you can follow the podcast. It's called Ditch the Ick. It's for single and dating millennials and Gen X women. And that's Ditch the Ick Pod on Instagram. And yeah, I feel like that's it. I think I'm on TikTok too, but I'm not like really on it. I'm more of a lurker on the talk. Occasionally I'll do something, but mostly just lurking.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Here's What I Learned. You can find the show notes and transcripts at jackiehayes.online/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave a review and follow the show. Be sure to find me on Instagram at JackieHayes_OBM and let me know what you learned from this episode. Catch you next time on Here's What I Learned.